Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai roi lo echsar. Binot asher yarbitzeni amem menuchot yanachaleni. Nafshi yishovei. Yanacheni v'magle tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam kirelech v'yitzal mavet. Lo irara ki hata imadi. Shiftecha mishantacha ema yenachamoni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged surirai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi kusirivaya. Achto v'chesed yirdifuni kol yamei chayai. V'shaviti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. Friends, I've chanted for you the words of our 23rd Psalm. On these most difficult days, days when our hearts are broken, we try to find the strength to seek comfort, and we do this oftentimes by turning to the psalmist. And so I ask you to recite with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too will live. She is now a part of us as we remember Jill Williams. To you, Gary, to her mother, Bernice, to her children, Jessica and Courtney, also to John and Andrew, to her sister Michelle and her brother Gary, her brothers-in-law Evan and Richard and sister-in-law Diane, to her mother-in-law Marie, and to her precious grandchildren, Caden, Ava, Paige, and little Kyra. To all the members of the family and to so many dear friends who are gathered here today, we've come together to remember but also to celebrate the life of your beloved Jill. Our sages in their wisdom have taught us that birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity and from youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead we see some victory that lies not at a high place along the way, but just in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Jill's journey began here in Cleveland. She was born on March 20th, 1966, to Bernice and Carl Silverstein. The youngest of 3 children, Jill grew up with her older brother and sister, with Michelle and Gary, on Ranchland Drive in Mayfield Heights. Bernice, when we sat together the other day, you shared with me memories of a young girl and a teenager who, in your words, was a fun, sweet, and very mischievous little lady, especially in those teenage years. You recalled a daughter who had no trouble making friends while she was attending Mayfield Heights High School. And I know that many of those childhood friends continued on to be lifelong friends. And even as a teen, you remarked that your daughter understood the importance of family. Bernice, I know that Jill had a very special relationship with you. And she had a very beautiful relationship with her father, Carl, of blessed memory. And your daughter enjoyed any and all family celebrations. You remarked that if there was dancing at any of these gatherings, Jill was usually the first to the dance floor. She loved to dance. Bernice, you shared with me that while Jill was still in high school, maybe around 17 years old or so, she was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. And you, Bernice, you supported her through these challenging times in ways that only a mother can. And you noticed that even on Jill's worst days, the days when the illness may have overcome her, you saw that Jill never lost her sense of humor. You saw that she never complained. And through it all, you saw a daughter who pushed on and who persevered. Bernice, while there's many details that I am uncertain of as to why a parent would ever have to bury a child, the one truth that I am certain of is that on this day there are absolutely no adequate words that I can offer you and that anyone here can offer you. A mother has lost her child and the order of nature has been reversed. But you said that Jill had this unique insight. She told you many times, she told you that you would outlive her. And she didn't seem to be afraid about this fact. She seemed to be quite at peace with this realization. And her being at peace with that notion of her days being shorter than we know they should have been, I only pray that this brings you some degree of peace at this time. Everyone here, I know, extends their arms around you, and I know that we all join together in praying that you are blessed with many years and with the sweetest and most beautiful memories of your beloved Jill. Gary, you and I got to speak on the phone briefly last night, and you're the one who reminded me, you being the family genealogist, you reminded me of your sister's Hebrew name. You said her Hebrew name, her Yiddish name, was Golda Menacha. And I double-checked on the translation. Golda, I knew, gold. There's a purity about gold. There's a value of gold. And Menacha comes from another word which means consoler or comforter. And I think, Gary, that these words describe your sister and her best traits so well. She had a golden heart, and whatever it took to comfort or console those she loved, she was there for them. Michelle, we know that the bonds shared between sisters are strong and they run quite deep. I'm quoting you now, Michelle. You shared with me, you said, "I knew I could talk to her anytime, any day, and I knew no matter what, she could always get me to laugh." She could get you to laugh pretty hard. You also told me that when you'd engage in conversation with Jill, she never wanted to talk about herself. She wanted to know about you, Michelle. She wanted to know about your kids. She wanted to know about your travels. And Michelle, if your travels involved a visit to a beautiful beach, and Jill's favorite place on earth was always a beach, if you were going to a beach, she wasn't jealous. She wasn't wanting. She was just so happy for you. You recalled a sister who loved talking to you about her daughters and her grandchildren, and of course she adored hearing about your new grandchild, Ryder. And your baby sister grew up to become a treasured friend. Whether it was the many paths of life's journey that you traveled together, or perhaps it was, Michelle, those 25 wedding dresses you schlepped to her home for her to try on for her daughter's wedding, or the many phone calls where she would always assure you, in no uncertain terms, "I'm fine. I'm going to be just fine." Whatever it was, you shared a very special friendship that was filled with sisterly love and concern. And Jill also found great joy in the relationship she shared with her sister-in-law, Diane, who I know was always there for her and helpful when she needed to discuss medical issues, and her brother-in-law, Richard, who also was there for her when the conversation needed to turn to legal issues. And with her brother-in-law, Evan, you shared how you were so amazed with Jill's strength and her smooth way of being able to deflect any questions that may have been about her. If you would ask her about her health, she'd immediately be able to change the topic, turn things around, and make it about you. I suspect she did that with many people. Evan, you said that Jill was always more interested in how you and the others were doing. And you also recalled how she worked in your family business for a while. You said she was dependable. And with her smarts and her sense of humor, both customers and coworkers really came to love her. And Jessica and Courtney, your mom wanted children. And not only did she get 2 amazing daughters, but 2 daughters that she could be so proud of. Jessica, you described her as the best human you ever met. You said your mom was dependable, wise, smart, and funny. You said you could count on her for everything. And if she said she would take care of something, Jessica, she did. She'd never let anyone down. You said that she always knew what to say to you and your sister Courtney. She knew how to get you through life's more challenging times. You said that she lived for family, that your mom loved to be with family and celebrate with family. And Jessica, when you were at your sister's wedding, when Courtney and Andrew married in Arizona, you and your mom had your own private little party. You had a blast. It was 1.5 years ago, and to get around she required a wheelchair. But you pushed her through with so much laughter. She, of course, taught you many life lessons. Among your favorites, among what you consider to be the most important, always be there for your children and make sure they eat healthy, but always be there for the kids. And Jessica, you've listened to her, for you are there for your 3 children. How your mother absolutely adored Caden and Ava and Paige. You shared that grandchildren were her heart and soul, that they were her life. And you know, right before we began our service, I had a moment where I could chat a little bit with Caden and Ava and Paige, and they shared some very beautiful things with me. Caden remembered a grandma where he could go swimming with. Grandma, Mom, and Aunt Courtney. He has special memories of that. Ava remembers all the talks on the couch And all three, Paige, Ava, and Caden, described her as a grandma who was funny. Now, she must have been very funny because everyone brings up how funny she was. And that she could be silly, and they especially liked Jessica when your mom might, in a silly, playful way, scold you. They really loved that part the best. But I think Paige said it best when she said simply, I loved her. And they loved her so much. And Courtney, you described Mom as your best friend. She was my best friend. You said that she had the most unique sense of humor, and it was always the best when you could actually make her laugh. You said your mom found humor and joy in the most absurd and awkward moments. And you described your mom as your partner. There were things you wanted to do, there were things you wanted to try, and they might have frightened you a little bit. They might have been a little scary, but she would always encourage you to go for it, to try those things, even if you were fearful of them. And while you and Mom lived in different parts of the country, this did not keep you apart. Only apart in miles, not in your hearts. You spoke multiple times a day. You loved your little coffee talks, whether they were in person or on the phone. And you admired your mom's sense of style. You said she had great taste. So much so that a lot of those phone calls you had with your mom might have been FaceTime calls, where maybe you wanted to purchase something, a dress or something else, and you'd FaceTime with Mom to get her opinion because you valued her opinion so much. Courtney, for you and Jessica, you both knew that if you asked your mom's opinion on something, that she was going to give it to you straight. She would tell you honestly. A life lesson that she taught you was to always stand up for yourself and don't let others walk all over you. Courtney, you said that she had your back. And Jessica, we know she had your back. She was honest with you, but never judgmental. I mentioned the wonderful time that she had at your wedding, but of course we have to mention little Kyra, who's just 1 month old. Mom didn't get to meet her in person, but FaceTime and videos and those daily pictures that she would ask you for or annoy you for, and if you wouldn't send them, we know Andrew would. This brought your mom immeasurable happiness. Courtney and Jessica, your mom had a very special place in her heart for your life partners. She truly loved John and Andrew, and it really brought her great comfort knowing that these good men were in your lives and that they are there for you and that they will have your backs. And speaking of good men, I want to go back several years and share with all of you that it was on April 1st, 1995. Jill decided to spend an evening out at the 100th Bomber Squadron Club, out at the airport. It was on that evening, that she met Gary. Gary, I know initially you were taken in by her outward beauty. It caught your attention. But you started to talk with her, and you talked, and then danced and talked some more. And as you kept speaking with this beautiful woman, you saw that there wasn't just outward beauty. You began to see Jill's inward beauty and kindness, and you were smitten, as was she. A courtship ensued, and love blossomed. And over those years of dating, the two of you would often kid around that April 1st was your meeting. It was your little April Fool's joke. It was a cute little thing between the two of you, and so you decided it was most appropriate that you marry on that same date. So on April 1st, 2001, 17 years ago, you wed and exchanged your vows. Gary, everyone who knew the two of you also knew that you and Jill really treasured each other. You were each other's beshert, this wonderful Yiddish word that means the one who was meant to be. She was your beshert and you were hers. Jill loved your sense of humor. The two of you together were quite a team. She loved traveling with you to Las Vegas and on cruises. And she especially loved those little gifts, the jewelry you would bring her. Sometimes for no specific reason at all, but just because you knew how happy it would make her. As a couple, you enjoy dining out with friends or just relaxing at home doing the crossword puzzles. If you were pressed to come up with a list of Jill's passions, the things that were most important to her, you might say that first and foremost, of course, family and friends. Second on her list would probably be keeping her home in Sharon Township in the beautiful way she kept that home. And third, her dogs, especially Dexter, little Dexter. And maybe fourth, Gary, cooking. She really liked to cook for you. And I think she took some pride that you learned to become a pretty good cook yourself. Gary, those moments shared with Jill, that the two of you shared together, these were among her happiest. And the moments that you and Jill together shared with Jessica and Courtney and the entire family, especially with the grandchildren, well, those were absolutely the best. Your beloved Jill loved the home that you made together, and she took such pride in that home, every detail, every aspect of the decor. And while we know that Jill has 2 daughters that she adored, we really have to say she had 3 kids. Because as I mentioned, that Dexter was way up there on the top of her list. We'll just say Dexter was Jill's 3rd child. Gary, we all know that Jill had to endure and deal with so many health challenges. And through her life, she could have been really angry. She could have been bitter. She could have complained. But somehow she masterfully managed these challenges in such a way that she was graceful with them. As worried or concerned as her loved ones may have been, Bernice and you, her children and her siblings, your Jill went above and beyond to assure everyone that she was all right. But we do know that Jill had the greatest caretaker. She had the best advocate. And we know, Gary, that you were always there, always her rock, always advocating for her, always protecting her, always loving her. Gary, the Jewish wedding, there is a piece of the wedding ceremony known as the Sheva Brachot, the 7 wedding blessings. And in these blessings, the bride and groom are specifically referred to as Re'im Ahuvim, literally translated meaning loving partners. This is what you and Jill truly were. Re'im Ahuvim. I'm fairly certain that the poet Ralph Waldo Emerson did not know your beloved Jill. But when he writes as to what it means to be successful, it's as if he knew her very well. Emerson writes the following: to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden path, or a redeemed social condition. To know that even one life has breathed easier because you lived. This is to have succeeded in so many ways. And although her time here was too short, but in so many ways, Jill succeeded. We take a moment of silent reflection as we ask God to accept Jill's soul. As you are able, I invite you to rise for the El Mole Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Mole Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamse Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfech HaShchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utorim Kezochar Arakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Golda Menacha Bat Brana Malka v'Kamen Moshe, שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תראה מנוחתה. ענה בה הרחמים אסתירך בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור חיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. O merciful God, who dwells on high, who is full of compassion, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your divine presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament. To our dear departed Jill Williams, who has gone now to her eternal home. May Jill's soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life, and grant that her memory inspire all of us to noble and consecrated living. And to this we say, Amen. Friends, let me share just a couple brief announcements with you. Our service will continue at the Mount Olive Cemetery. Immediately following the interment, the family will receive visitors at the home of Michelle and Evan Brown. Their address is 15740 Gamekeepers Trail in Novelty. Visitation will go until 8:30 p.m. this evening. Also, anyone who wishes to make a contribution in memory of Jill, the family has asked that you might consider the American Diabetes Association. On behalf of the entire family, we thank you for your support and your love on this sad but important day.